All right, boys. It's a big one. It's a big one today. It's one that a lot of you have been looking forward to. It need no introduction. We're talking about Mortal Kombat 2. And I have some great things to say, and I also have some not so great things to say. It's not a perfect film by any means, but it is a film for the fans. Now, do I consider myself a fan? Well, I grew up on Mortal Kombat like a lot of you. I've played all the games, even the shitty one. Mortal Kombat Special Forces, PS1. Guilty pleasure. I've obviously seen both original films and obviously 2021. I actually find myself more in love with these versions of Mortal Kombat features, the animated ones. I love what Warner Brothers does with their animated features. Everything they do when it comes to animated DC films or the Mortal Kombat films, I think they're phenomenal. I think their animation department just does so many great things. The animations have gotten so much better since they started out building worlds in animated features, and these are fantastic. I mean, if you are new to Mortal Kombat and you're intimidated by the amount of lore that exists, and you don't want to dive into the deep end of the pool, start with the animated ones. I feel like they condense a good amount, they simplify it, and for 80 minutes they have some incredible fight sequences, and the violence you want is there. So, do I consider myself a fan? Yeah, I enjoy the game. My God, I enjoy the games avidly. Do I think the lore is terribly interesting? No, but do I think that the characters individually are interesting? Yes, I do. That's why you show up for these characters, because if you were to deep dive into the lore, I mean, there are characters that come back almost as much as DBZ characters, Dragon Ball Z characters. I mean, it's crazy, and that's no knock to DBZ, because Dragon Ball Z is like one of my favorite things to ever exist on Earth. So it's no knock at all. And when you get characters like this who are OP as fuck, whose only purpose is to beat the ever-living fuck out of each other, they gotta die and come back a few times more powerful. That's just part of the tropes of stuff like this, and I enjoy it. So, but the lore is dense. But I show up for the fights, I show up for the characters, and I do know about the characters that I enjoy. I even like I thought the DC versus Mortal Kombat game was fun. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I really enjoy those games. I actually love what Ed Boon does with fighting games. I love the Injustice games. Those games are so fun. So I am very much coming at this from someone who enjoys the medium, but I'm not precious about it. But I do have things that I want to see in a Mortal Kombat film. Very much so. And I got a lot of those things here, but there are also a few things that sort of fell to the wayside. I enjoyed the 2021 version, but I was not a fan of the fight choreography. I thought for the most part it was kind of mediocre, which is kind of a weird thing to say considering Mortal Kombat is about the fights. The one thing you should prioritize is the way that your fights look, and I do not think they did a good job with the majority of the fights there. Even though the Sub-Zero and Scorpion fight at the beginning was awesome, and the one at the end, while not as good as the one in the beginning, was also really good. The fights in between were just fine, but it was awesome to see those fatalities and see Jax do this to someone's head. I did rewatch it yesterday, and I found myself kind of getting distracted. I don't think it held as well as I wanted it to. But going into this, I was just excited for better choreographed fights, and I wanted to see some Noob Saibot, since I'm a big Sub-Zero fan, as a lot of us are, right? We have our Scorpion or Scorpion or Sub-Zero, and I'm a Sub-Zero guy. I really love Sub-Zero, although I love what they do with Scorpion here. He's obviously performed by such a great actor. But all that to say, I just really wanted some great fights, and I think overall they listened to every demand and concern that you had and that I had going into 2, that we hoped they fixed and reconfigured and moved around. They did all of that in spades. Like I said, there are flaws. I will get into these flaws, but the things that worked for this film worked monumentally. The fight sequences are great. They are shot so differently from the first. There is actually a sense of pacing and prolonged choreography. We're not cutting every 5 seconds. There is one character we cut around a lot, and I'll get to that in a minute. But for the most part, these fights are so well choreographed. One fight in the middle of the film involving Liu Kang and Kung Lao which was like the closest thing you're gonna get to a fight jumping right out of the screen as if you were playing it. That fight was so good and might go down as one of the, if not the best Mortal Kombat fights in any feature. It was so good. But my favorite one was not actually that one. It was the one with Baraka and Johnny Cage, because it sort of gave me the Jackie Chan Golden Days vibe. It was mixed in with a lot of physical humor, which then led into badass moments, and it was so well choreographed, and it was hilarious while still having some money shots. I really enjoy that fight. If you guys get a chance to see it, you'll know why, you'll understand why. But what was cool about the Kung Lao and Liu Kang fight was that there was a lot of emotion behind that fight sequence, considering what happened in part one. And obviously that depends on how invested you are in the portrayals of the characters in this film. But this movie moves at such a crazy breakneck pace that it was really cool to have a fight that had so much weighing on it in terms of two characters and the emotion between these two brothers. This was just kind of a big moment, and it was a great moment for Liu Kang to shine. I still wonder why they didn't just make him the main character. He was a standout in part one, and he is absolutely a standout here. I hope the third one definitely makes him a main character. It's not advertised how it should be. Johnny Cage is not the main character. He is very much a big supporting character and second to Katana, but Katana is the protagonist. But Katana's story is really like the main overarching narrative that decides and dictates where these characters are going to be at by the end of the film. Her trying to dethrone Shao Kahn after everything that's happened to her and the history that she has with this motherfucker and her parents and the tragedies that she's endured. I mean, all this is a culmination of her story and him. Johnny Cage's story, and I know there's a lot of debacle, right? Like, was Karl Urban the guy to play Johnny Cage? And I don't think it's a matter of was he the one worthy of playing the character, but was this the portrayal of the character we wanted, period. And I think that a lot of people will have issues with him, and I'm not trying to speak for people, but I know that I had a little bit of a conflict in trying to understand why they made him depressed, why they made him the character that you see in the trailer. He's very much that character. Now, he has some hilarious moments, but you build up to that, and at the start he is very much a Debbie Downer. And I realized that for a film that requires a lead character to have an arc, it's not exactly the best arc if your character is just carefree and hilarious the entire time. So I understand them kind of giving us the origins, right? Building up to his ego, if you will, like finally him putting on that Johnny Cage-ness, because it doesn't make for an interesting character if you don't have some kind of internal conflict. And Johnny Cage is just so carefree and fun and cool that it's just kind of hard to make him a lead if you have him go through nothing. And we also don't, we don't want to just start him out where he's already in a relationship with Sonya, and that's the crux of their story. Like, you also have to build up to that. So I can understand why we did it. And I think to that extent, it's really a writing thing, not a Karl Urban thing. I think when Karl Urban is being funny, he is being funny for the most part. And I'll give it to him. He really does try to give you the most Johnny Cage-ness when the Cage-ness comes calling. You have all the other characters from the first film. You've got Liu Kang in here. You got Sonya. You got Jax. And you got Cole, which they handle his character according to what we wanted. Without spoiling too much, and I feel like I'm already spoiling it by saying it, but a lot of people weren't fond of Cole, and so the writers and directors said, we gotcha. Now, that is to say, he doesn't go out like a bitch. He certainly has his shining moment, but they were sure to not make him a part of the story at all. But he has a shining moment, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, they made sure not to completely shit on a character that they created just because everyone hated him. And the pacing of this movie reminds me a lot of the video games, which is also a really good thing. When you play the video games, right, the campaigns are anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. And if you strip away the gameplay and you just leave the cutscenes, which I don't know about you, but when I'm done playing the game, I like to go on YouTube and watch the cutscenes cut and edited into a film, because those cutscenes the production value is insane. Like the voice acting is incredible. The fight sequences and the cinematics themselves, the visuals, and the story beats that are hit in those cinematics and the cutscenes are actually entrancing in a way that makes me feel like we don't need Mortal Kombat films when the cutscenes are that fantastic. There are there are literal giant battle sequences, bits and pieces of fights, and character moments in those cutscenes, which is why I can easily just watch the cutscenes by themselves after I've already played the game and just to understand the story better. Because again, the lore runs deep with these fucking games. In the same way that if you play any fighting game, Street Fighter or Tekken, like good luck jumping into part 6 or 7 of any of those and catching up, because it just doesn't happen. You really do have to go back to 1, even though they do a pretty decent job of starting out a new story of in every installment of those gaming franchises. But if you're avidly wanting to learn more and you love these characters, you do want to go back. You want to experience those characters. You want to learn what made them tick, what turned them into what were the character arcs in every game. Like when a game is done well and the characters are endearing, you do want to learn those things. And Mortal Kombat is just one of those games that, man, if you haven't started, you're probably never going to start. And the films are the only way that you're sort of consuming it, right? And what I like about the film is that it really does treat it like a video game. In the video game, either your cutscenes are 3 to 4 minutes of monologuing and character dynamics, and then we get into the fights. Then we're playing the game. And this film is very much that in terms of pacing. We get 2 to 3 minutes of fucking, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. All right, cool. Here's a funny line here or there. Kano is back, better than ever. My God, they also listened. They said, "You like Kano? We're gonna bring this motherfucker back." They kind of partner him up with Johnny Cage at one point, and they're just bantering with each other, and that stuff was brilliant. I was just cracking up. But again, it's just 2 to 3 minutes of people talking and giving you exposition before we move on to the next fight sequence. And the fight sequences here again are choreographed so much better than part 1. The only problem that I had with the fight sequences here, and it's something that maybe a lot of people aren't going to notice unless they've worked in the industry or worked around stuntmen or has done stunt work before, and I've all of the above. So me watching this film, there's one fight, and it's usually just the fights involving Johnny Cage, because I don't think Karl Urban can still do a lot of physical stuff, obviously. But martial arts on a 50-year-old man's joints is a whole different thing, right? It's a whole, especially with prolonged fight sequences. It's a whole different thing. And I feel like that's where maybe getting someone younger would have worked, because you can tell in his fight sequences, the stunt double, I caught him so many times, and it just bothered me because I couldn't stop paying attention to it. And it's something silly, but again, I don't feel like it's something that is a deal breaker for anyone who doesn't know to look for it. And not that it's hard to spot, but I can tell even when they cover it up well, I can tell the giveaway, the tell. And it's just it's a me thing, because I have been on productions and it's something that's hard for me to ignore. And it only really happened with Johnny Cage, because the Liu Kang and Kung Lao fight, which was great, they know how to fight. So that fight sequence, if we're cutting, it's to give you a shot of the arena, I'll call back to the game, and then we're getting up close so you can see that it's their face attached to the body that's moving. So you see, like, hey, these guys know how to fight. And that's why that was one of the better choreographed, if not the best choreographed fight in the film. I really liked the first fight involving Sindel and Sonya. You'll very much, if you've played the game, you'll recognize the arena of spikes, and it's such a great fight. But then this brings me to one of my flaws, and it's throughout these games, a lot of these characters have time to shine, right? And in this film, it's an hour and 53 minutes, and like a lot of films, your characters have a limited runtime to exist amongst an ensemble cast. And some of these characters that are new, they get a fight and then they're out. And I feel like some of these characters are pretty OP, and they kind of get sidelined a little bit for the main cast, which is understandable. But this is why, in my head, Mortal Kombat would always be more fitting for a series, because there's all the warring realms, all these characters with their backstories and revenge plots, and specific evolutions, like Sub-Zero turning into Noob Saibot. Like, there's so many. He also has a brother that eventually they're probably going to touch on, and there's so many different iterations of these characters that would befit 7 to 11 seasons, and going through them as quickly as possible through the film is something that, again, is not something that most people will notice. But knowing the full potential of characters like Sindel and so forth, it would be cool to have a TV show explore those things. You do get quite a bit of characters to see and just kind of gawk at and be like, oh, cool, like they're here. You obviously get Shang Tsung, which he was in the first one for a bit. You get Sindel, and Quan Chi wasn't fully crazy about his version of the character. They very much treated him like the old wizard, and he is a little bit more capable in the game for sure. But nonetheless, it was cool to see these characters realized, but characters that were sidelined for the overall arching story of this ensemble cast. And one thing that is kind of nitpicky is the tournament is a big point of this film, but it's not the main story. The main story is Shao Kahn looking for the amulet that's going to give him immortality, which is just kind of such a weird, sudden thing to throw in there, considering like Shao Kahn is very capable already. He can kick ass. That hammer's insane. He is a very combative, brutish character. They didn't really need the amulet story. I would have just liked them sticking to that, or just trying to make it part of that, make it part of the story that while the tournaments happen, they're trying to overthrow him. But the whole amulet thing was just kind of unnecessary, but it was more primary than the tournament, though the tournament carried the action forward. Again, a little nitpicky thing, but I'm like, yeah, you didn't need that. We could have just, especially Shao Kahn is so capable. We don't need no fucking amulet. But let's face it, none of us are really watching this shit for the story. None of us play the fucking games for the story. I don't play fighting games for the story, unless it's Injustice. Injustice 2 is my favorite fighting game of all time, and I think the story is genuinely incredible. Hence why the comic book is also great, and the animated feature is so good. So, but as far from that, I don't play the fucking fighting games for the story. It's just stuff I notice as someone who cares about writing. But as a film, I had so much fucking fun with this movie. I think that for the fans, there's a lot here. And I think for the critical thinkers, the overthinkers, there's also a lot to nitpick at. I commend the director and the writers for making a movie, really any adaptation ever that is based in gaming, because there's such the fan base for gaming franchises is so heartfelt and so big and so amassed that no matter what, you're not gonna please everyone. It's just not gonna happen. I'm a genuine lover of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Everything past Assassin's Creed 4, I'm not a big fan of, with the exception of Origins and Mirage, that I think were genuinely great games. And I enjoyed the Assassin's Creed film. In a lot of ways, I'm not someone that goes like, oh, this is the definitive story of Assassin's Creed. No, bitch, I've got the games. Those are the definitive stories. These are just, to me, these are just extensions of the world. I can look at Assassin's Creed and be like, yeah, that's Assassin's Creed. And that's not Ezio. It's a completely new character in Spain. Like, I enjoyed it. And I wish we would have gotten more. I also really enjoy the 2013 Tomb Raider series of games. Tomb Raider, Rise, Shadow. Like, I love those games, especially Shadow. Shadow's fantastic. And the I think is Alicia Vikander remake of the Tomb Raider film, which is very much taking after the 2013 Tomb Raider. I thought was fine. I was like, you know what? This is not the official Tomb Raider. This is an extension of that world, just like the Angelina Jolie films, which are very Tomb Raider, honest Tomb Raider. People still shit on those. That is a very Tomb Raider. I don't know what Tomb Raiders they've been playing, but that's a very Tomb Raider. And I can go on. I mean, the list is long. I love when video game adaptations go anime. I love the Castlevania gaming franchise. I love that anime. But you're never gonna please everyone, and it's a really brave thing to adapt something like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter later this year, which has had more fucking atrocious adaptations than I can count. Straight to DVD. I think a couple went to theater. There's some, obviously the animated adaptations, but now we're getting the new Street Fighter later this year, and I think it looks good. And it's a weird spot to be in where, people are almost wishing death upon directors and writers for taking creative liberties with properties that we love. But the thing is, like, these properties already exist in video game form. Like, I don't like the fact that we adapted The Last of Us season 1 on HBO. I don't. I see. This is the funny thing, because I guess it's juxtaposed with like what people are saying, and it's people love that. I hated it because it's loyal to a fault. I can play the remakes, which are the most beautifully visually beautiful versions of those games, and I can play them and go like, I don't need a movie or a show. The Last of Us is so emotional and so heavy, and you get to interact with the world at your pace, and the cutscenes are incredible. The performances are great, that I'm just looking at the show and going, okay, yeah, you adapted it loyally. Like, I'm looking at the show and going, okay, great, you adapted it shot for shot. I don't want that. If you're gonna adapt something, maybe take some form of liberty, some kind of expansion. And yeah, they expanded, they added a villain, but that show did very little for me. And especially season 2, which I am a fan of, The Last of Us Part 2, which is really controversial because people don't like that game. I really like that game. And to adapt it in 2 was the biggest fuck you, because that paled in comparison to the emotional heft and weight of the game. So why are we okay with shot for shot adaptations, but not things that take liberties? Like right now, everybody's giving Zach Kreger some bullshit because of Resident Evil. Resident Evil is one of the longest standing and best gaming franchises of all time. We've all played one. We've at least seen one. I've played every single one of them repeatedly. I am still open to seeing adaptations be made as long as the spirit is intact. I don't want to watch Leon again when I can just play Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 9, Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 2. That is Leon to me. Grabbing an actor, putting a wig on him, and going, here's your Leon, doesn't make him Leon. It doesn't. The fact that Zach Kreger is making a game, a film adjacent to the game, taking place at the same time, that's great. Adapting the video game mechanics, but creating a story within the lines and the world building, and that's brilliant. I think that's fantastic. But no, how dare you, Zach? Have some ingenuity. How fucking dare you? Don't do that. That's wild. Like, dude, come on. Like, I feel like the fandom, I feel like we should get a little bit over ourselves when it comes to some of these adaptations, because we're in a place right now where we're so spoiled with getting so much shit. For instance, my favorite game of all time is Uncharted. I did not like the Uncharted movie, but I can always go back to the game, man. You know what I mean? Like, I can always go back to the game. It's so weird to see fandom be toxic. I know it's something that I don't know. I don't care how much of a fan we are of things, to get so toxic about certain things, no matter how much they mean to us, is so crazy, because those things that made it mean a lot to us still exist. Right? It's almost, I guess there's a whole other video, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's also like the Evil Dead stuff, right? Like, we all grew up with a version of Evil Dead, right? People in the 80s have been there since day one. People who grew up in the 90s, like me, probably picked up at Army of Darkness and went back, like, and people who are just, been born in the last 20 years. They're 2013, and then they go back and they go, I don't like those that much. And then you have people going like, yeah, fuck you. I want the goofiness. That's Evil Dead. This isn't Evil Dead. I'm like, Evil Dead still exists. Ash versus Evil Dead still exists. you have to have a measured take on things. It's a weird thing to think that we think in absolute. It's really strange for me to believe that that's just how we think, and it's really strange to accept that. To just be like, well, this isn't my this, so fuck you. That's not it. It's like, no, it's really interesting. And this is coming from the discourse of the Evil Dead video, where there's a lot of opinions about what Evil Dead should be. And that conversation correlates to what a video game adaptation should be. And while I express my opinion, I also don't get upset at the idea that there are other people who are making this, to whom this stuff also means a lot to. And it means a lot to them for different reasons. And that's just what they're bringing to the table, right? Because you can create your version, but your version might just not appeal to someone else. That is kind of the magic behind the medium, is we have options and we can always go back to the old stuff. The new stuff could be a further extension, could enhance certain things, could give more weight to certain things, could change perspective in certain ways. So it's just interesting. And I think, again, this is a whole other bag of worms. This is a whole other video. And I don't know why I went off on this rant, but it just made me think about what people are going to say about Mortal Kombat, and what the avid fans are going to say, and the people who are more casual fans think. And it also got me thinking about the critics, and how, like, fuck critics, because we all know those fuckers are bought. Fuck them all. But if you have critics, and then you have audience scores, and that also kind of brings its own bag of worms, which is really interesting, because we put a lot of weight on what other people think, what the review score is for something, and then we're like scared to say, well, I like that. Why are you scared to say you like something? Obviously you like it because it brought you some joy, it brought you some levity, it maybe changed your perspective, it maybe put something in the forefront for you that you've never seen, or it's your first time being exposed to something, or maybe that just brings you, a sense of just pure joy. Why are you afraid to say you like something? And I really hope that me having this channel kind of opens up the dialogue outside of just, yo, is this good? Is this bad? Okay, like, I could sit all day. I could sit here all day and tell you how, like, a fight is choreographed badly. It matters not a fucking ounce iota to you if that fight brought you joy. Like, it's a really weird thing. And that's just because my background working on films, I point that stuff out. It doesn't take away from the movie fully, but I got to be honest with myself about the things that I don't think worked. Again, just a funny conversation to have amidst, and an appropriate one to have amidst something like this that is so big. I guess that's why I did a YouTube channel, so I can have conversations like this. And I don't know if many people are having them. But anyway, my final verdict on Mortal Kombat 2 is I really enjoyed this film. Bound's better than the first. I do think it's the best Mortal Kombat film. Right up there with the OG, but I think this one is exactly what I want. And it doesn't touch the games, but it doesn't need to. This is an experience on the big screen, and as a summer blockbuster experience is fucking awesome. It is fun with a lot of flaws, but you're not, at least me, I'm not watching this for the intellectual conversation. I'm watching this for the exercise and goofiness and insanity that a movie this big on the big screen provides. And also, I still think these bang. So please, if you haven't, go watch them. Go find them somewhere. I'm pretty sure they're on Max or something. Go watch them. If you're a fan, go enjoy them. They're fucking good. There's also a third one called Snowblind. Anyway, that's it. This video's gone on way too long. Thank you for listening. I'm ever grateful to be able to provide you some form of stimulation, whether it be goofy or intellectual, or just, something to fill the void whenever you're feeling like the quiet's getting too much. Go watch something. Support the local movie theaters. I don't want to see these beautiful places get shut down. We need to keep theaters alive. So please go out of the movies, watch something, And if you just want to stay home and stream, that's fine too. But for you guys that really want to go to a movie, please go out, support them, keep the movie theaters open. And as always, you know the mantra, I'll see you at the movies.